You want to look at Gary, Lance? Okay, so, okay, it's 7:02. We'll call the Barron County Board of Supervisors for Monday, October 16th, 2023 into order, and roll call. Looks like we've got everybody present, don't we? I do? It shows I'm here. I was in at 6:30.
It shows you.
Yeah. Okay, so 29 present. All right, public notification.
This is for the amended agenda that was sent out. Wendy Coleman, my executive assistant, has complied with Wisconsin open meeting law requirements. Meeting agendas have been posted on electronic meeting notice boards located on the first and second floor of the Government Center and the first floor of the Justice Center. Hard copy of the meeting agenda has been posted in the county clerk's office, and she's verified the proper posting of the meeting. This is the meeting for the Barron County Board of Supervisors scheduled for October 16th, 2023 at 7 p.m. And this amended agenda was posted on October 12th at 11:51 a.m.
Okay, the invocation will be by Pastor Floyd Lundy from First Baptist Church in Barron.
Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for the freedoms that we have and enjoy. We thank you, Father, for the ability to govern ourselves in this great nation. We thank you for those who have dedicated so much time, energy, effort of their own free will and yet to positions that are necessary. And we thank you for their sacrifice, for their giving, for their time. We thank you, Father, for the ability to make good decisions, and we pray for the wisdom of God to rest upon each person here tonight, that we would know what is right, what is good, and what is in the benefit of our community, and that which will advance our county, our area, our towns. Lord, thank you for giving wisdom. I do want to pray as well for peace in the Middle East right now, but we also thank you for a land where we live here, where we do have peace. May it always be so, and may we continue to be grateful and thankful to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3, special matters and announcements.
I have one. This comes from the people who watch this video live. Please turn on your microphone before you speak. They can't hear you. They're calling Jess, they're calling me, they're calling the zoning office on zoning things. Please turn on your mics before you speak so that it gets out on the YouTube channel. It would be a big help. Thank you.
Okay, item number 4, approve the agenda. Motion by Supervisor Cook, seconded by Supervisor Bob Anderson. Does anybody have any concerns or want to speak? Not? Then let's vote. Okay, that was passed by a vote of 29 yes and 0 against. Thank you. Item number 5, approve the minutes of September 11th, 2023. Motion by Supervisor Banks, seconded by Supervisor Rogers. Any concerns with the minutes? Seeing none, let's vote. Again, that passed 29 to nothing. Thank you. Item number 6, public comment. We have 4 of them this evening. When I state your name, would you come up to the podium in the middle and hit the hit the push button, and that'll start the mic going for you. Kimberly Randall. Oh, 3 minutes? Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. I'm Kimberly Randall. I'm owner of Randall Therapeutic Services. And behind me in the second row is all staff from my agency. And my understanding is this afternoon, you're going to be reviewing an offer from me. And it's accompanied by a letter that I wrote identifying the mental health services that we provide in the community. I put in the offer for the building as I'm seeking a space large enough to encompass all of my staff, which are currently in 2 locations. And they work collectively on cases together quite regularly, and they need to be able to meet together. We also need room to enhance our programming, communal spaces to invite groups of adolescents, families, children, and needs in our community. And this is a very passionate group of people who are here tonight, who do really good work. And we need more room. We need room for additional staff. And this site would be a perfect location for us. And I know that it's a complex matter, the sale of this business. And I just want you to know I've lived in this community my whole life. And when I started into this career, I have researched extensively the needs of the community and looked to enhance those and provide more. And I hope to do that for the rest of the time that I have in our community specifically. And I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Aaron Hendricks. Again, would you just state your name and address, please?
My name is Aaron Hendricks. I live at 511 East Orchard Beach Lane in Rice Lake, neighbors with Bunn. I'm here also. I am actually a therapy intern. I'm a graduate student at UW Stout, and I'm a therapy intern working with Kim. Just beginning my career and profession in serving this area with mental health needs. Full disclosure, want to get that out there, but I'm here to speak personally tonight. I was born and raised in Cumberland and spent the majority of my life in Barron County. I have a long personal history with mental health. I grew up suffering with depression and anxiety, and I was actually 14 the first time I attempted suicide. And at the time back then, the mental health services in the county were next to nothing. My parents and I had no clue what to do, and so we just kind of moved on with life. I continued to suffer and struggle and developed alcoholism by the age of 18 and suffered with chronic depression and repeated suicide attempts. It wasn't until I was 26 that I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and because of the lack of services in the area, actually moved to Denver, Colorado to get treatment. Now I'm back here. My personal counselor is actually in Washburn County because there isn't one in the area with the conflict of interest at the agency that can help me in the county. And I know a lot of people. I served a lot of years at St. Joseph's Catholic Church and School. I've served a lot of years in the community, and I just know so many people looking for these services. I know so many people who are in need of quality, compassionate mental health care. And seeing Kim brought me back to this area to work here, and seeing Kim go to expand this office and to expand the services for youth and family in this community, to me is an extremely exciting opportunity. One, to be involved with as a budding practitioner, but two, to just know that my children have a chance to be raised in a community that when they suffer, the resources are here to meet their needs, that they don't have to travel, that they don't have to look for services elsewhere, and they can make this their home and be fully supported. So obviously that draws me to the point of saying I would love to see this county look at the Ann Street School as an investment in mental health, an investment in our community, and all these practitioners who are dedicating their time and energy to serving the youth and family and adults in our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Patty Green?
Patty Green, 1329 21st Street in Cameron. And I'm here tonight just to say a thank you to the Sheriff's Department in Barron County for all the hard work and dedication that they give to this community to make us all feel safe. And I think that whenever the sheriff comes to you for any funds for anything, you can be rest assured that he's done all of his research and that he's found the best solution for us.
Thank you. Alicia Putsky? Hope I didn't butcher that name.
Good evening, it's Alicia Putsky,
Okay.
1758 13 1/4 Street, Rice Lake. On a personal note, I am Kimberly's sister. On a professional note, I have been a registered nurse in the county, Barron County, for 15 years. I started at the Cumberland Healthcare, where at one time we had a mental health facility. Due to budgeting and whatnot, Cumberland was basically forced to close their doors. Through the years, I have seen, well, I'll just say this. At any given time, I can look at the jail roster and see patients that either I cared for or I witnessed in that facility. I just know that it's a need, and I would love to see, there are a lot of familiar faces. I'd love to see our community rally behind and to see that Ann Street School used for something that can benefit if we invest in our county, we all benefit from it. So again, on a personal level, I can venture to say, besides my parents, I've known Kimberly longer than everybody. I have never seen anybody as passionate as she is. She is so caring and she puts everything into her practice because she knows the need. So I just wanted to say that. And thank you for the board for your time in serving our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7, Chromebook training. Lance, you're on.
Before Lance speaks, I'm just going to say this is in follow-up to last month. Specifically, we realized that there wasn't a refresher since you guys were trained in January when we started this, and you're only doing this once a month at the county board meetings, so it's hard to be familiar with it. So one of the requests that we've received from a few of you is that they'd like to be able to see their agenda and items coming up as well as the actual open meeting software. There is the ability to do that, so we're going to let our IT director, the genius, show us how to handle this one. But be sure to ask any questions while we're here. It's not something that we could show you how to do via email. You actually have to be in the software in order for us to show you how to attempt to do this. And like I said, if you have any questions, now's the time to let us know, so don't be scared at all.
So, inside of your guys' software here, this page should look a little more familiar once I get back to it. Over on the left-hand side, it's really a sidebar that all of us, myself and Jess, overlooked. But the agenda is off on the side. If you push that out, you can come down here and scroll and see future items coming tonight. And if you select them, it brings it up over on the right-hand side. So you can read what Jessica has put there, exactly what's on the agenda as we go along. And if you scroll back up, you can see the highlighted one is the one we're on. And when you select on it, you see that. So I think that, I promised a couple people under 2 minutes for this. That's really about all we needed to show you guys. But if there's any questions from there,
Anybody have any questions of Lance?
that's what we thought when we found it too.
Yeah. I don't get to use it, though.
Yeah, a little different.
Yeah, one of the
Okay.
reasons we brought this up was because what Louis sees versus what I see is totally different than what you guys currently see on your screen. So that's why Lance is here to help you throughout the process. So if you have a question or you can't pull it up when we get to a new agenda item, just let us know and Lance can come around and help you as well.
Supervisor Olson.
So I was one of them that raises this as a question, and this helps because I like to be able to make notes. But really, what I was looking for is access to the full packet. Because we can't see the information that's in there that, might relate to what we're
You'd
talking
still have
about.
to minimize for that to get to that one.
All right.
Supervisor Hanson.
Is there any way we can make notes on the computer?
There is not on this piece of software. So,
Okay.
I don't know, what I've done, well, ever since I've been up here is I make a copy of the agenda and any pertinent things in the packet, I write stuff on and get ready because I trust the computer. It's just I'd like to have that right here so I can go to it. So, any further questions?
I had my hand up. I was going to ask if we have that opened up on the left and then we have to vote or whatever. Do we have to bring it back down? It can stay up and we can see the voting without that?
yeah, the only time you cannot navigate through that though is when the actual voting is happening. When the vote, like if there was a yes, no, abstain vote on your screen, you would not be able to navigate through the agenda. But once we get past that, then you can use it again.
Okay,
that make
thank
sense?
you.
Any further questions? Okay, thanks, everybody, and thanks, Lance. Item number 8, progress update on the highway facilities. Take her away, Mac.
Well, we're getting to the point where you guys have all been waiting for. We're about 98%. All our paving is down 2 mats, complete. It looks phenomenal around there. The guys did an awesome job. It's really coming together. It's starting to look like a project now. Looks more completed. Jody and I and Mike have been working on closing out some contracts. We're working on final documents and getting the rest of the paperwork rounded up. Going through pay applications, this and that. Things are really going good. Jody's been a big help to this project for all of us. She does the paperwork and I see too the grunt and cracking the whip, but there's only a couple contractors on site with stuff left to do. We're down to basically punch list items. So Mike and Lori have kind of started a list of going through things that need some attention to finish up the project. But for the most part, I would say we got this thing conquered. So.
Okay. Any questions of Mac? Okay. No, he's not. Randy's going to be quiet tonight.
I thought about it. I thought about it about that long.
Yeah.
It's not my field.
All right, Supervisor Cook.
Mac, do we, in terms of the controls, thermostats, alarms, compressors, are they wired properly? Do we have an alarm system, or are we going to have to invest? As I understand right now, I have one thermostat 700 feet down at the end of the building.
No, there's thermostats mounted all over in the building. There's different zones. The mechanics area has a zone in each bay for the in-floor heat. And the heated storage area has I think there's 4 zones out there, and each zone has its own thermostat out there.
So it's all hooked up?
All of the thermostats are controlled, and I have the lock key to them, the code to them. So once they're set for the year.
So everything's up to snuff with our,
Yeah,
okay.
yep.
Okay.
As far as I know, we have everything we need. Everything was working last winter. Anybody else got anything?
Supervisor Patty Anderson.
So I'm all about fun in the county. When is the open house scheduled for?
So I missed the highway committee meeting last week due to being ill, but
Jeff will tell you.
I can answer that question. That was brought up by the highway committee, and Nate asked that be held next June or July. He'd like to have all the paving done and all the punch list done and all the painting and touch-up done. And he wants it warm. He also wants warm weather. We talked at the committee, we talked about looking at Marv. We talked about if we have it this time of year, I guarantee you the day we'll schedule it, it'll snow.
Yep.
Thank you.
I also want to make you aware, this has been discussed too. We're talking about asking people to RSVP so that we know who is there, just because I know it's going to sound bad, but we just, by default, don't want just anybody wandering around. That happened. The sheriff can certainly corroborate. That happened a few years ago. That was a little bit unnerving for people. Somebody just wandering around. So we'll probably ask people RSVP. We can't make them, but it would help to know how many people are going to be there too.
Perfect. Thank you.
No further questions then? Thanks, Mac.
Bet.
Okay, item number 9, financial update on the highway facilities project. Jody?
Okay, looking at through the end of September, expenditures to date this year, looking at $3,727,205. Through the end of September, we've transferred in $2,593,235 from the $4.6 million that was approved last year. And so we're looking at, okay, so the funding that was approved last month for the paving of about $745,000 plus the 4.6, we've spent $3,343,000 of that, leaving a balance of about $2 million. I also put on here is a list of all of the funding for the project thus far, starting back in 2017. Non-bond monies was $6,318,000. Adding that to the $25 million bond, we're looking at total funding of $31,438,000. As of today, we are about $100,000 under the funding. So we're you know, sitting good. We're within our budget as of today. Any questions?
Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 10, the 2024 published budget. Thank you, Jody.
All right, that's me. So Jody's going to get the spreadsheets up. There are 5 things I want the county board to be aware of that are going to have an effect on the Barron County budget either in 2024 or coming years, and here they are. If you know what happened today, the Legislative Fiscal Bureau announced that the state of Wisconsin ended its fiscal year with the largest surplus in the history of the state of Wisconsin, a over $7 billion surplus. That's up from a $4 billion projected surplus as of 6/30, number one. Number two, the Brewers bill. The Brewers bill, as being presented, will result in the Wisconsin Department of Administration receiving 1% less in administrative fees. Since 1986, the State of Wisconsin Department of Administration has been taking a 1.75% administrative fee to take the money that we give them from the people of Barron County. They take off 1.75% and then they give us a check back. As Mark O'Connell said today, no one for 25 years has been able to figure out why you get 1.75% to do what your job is anyway. The Brewers bill says that the 1.75% is cut by 1%, and all that money is going to be distributed back to the counties. That's germane to Barron County because it could result in as much as another $60,000 a year in sales tax. And as you know, we've talked about this here all the time, we're locked in. We're one of the counties that's locked in. We can't do anything but return that to the taxpayers. 1992 ruling. Point number 3, a bill is going to be introduced either today or tomorrow in the state Senate that will rework the land fees for recording sales of property. It will be dropped from 3% per 1,000 to 2% per 1,000, and the counties will get back their 50%.
It's 0.003 versus 0.002.
Yeah. This goes back to 1964. This was put in place and then modified. From 1964 till 1982, the counties got 100% of all the money because we're the ones that do the recording fees, i.e. the Register of Deeds office. In 1982, the state legislature changed the law that said, we're the state, we get 50% of what the county does. The new law will slowly ramp that up. The point is this, that's roughly $20 million more per year to be distributed to counties. And if you just divide that by 72 counties, and I dumbed that down a bit, that could be an additional $200,000 increase. We may not get that in 2025, we may get that in 2026. So that's $280,000. Point number 5, we're gonna jump ahead to 4. If you were at the Economic Development Banquet, Representative Voss, Speaker, Supervisor Cook brought up our state mandates. He said, you show me your state mandates and I'll review them. So on Friday, I met with Armstrong and Quinn. I went through all the mandates. I had them verified by Stacy Frolick. I then delivered those to Armstrong and Quinn on Friday. 79.5% of the property tax levy that goes into Health and Human Services is state mandated. So $6 million of the $7 million is a mandate. This is how I defined a mandate. A mandate is something that if the county does not do it, the state has the right to take away A, our state shared revenue, or B, our highway aids, okay? There's essentially 3 types of things that go on at the county. There's a mandate, which I've described. There's a requirement, which is what CLTS, CCS is. It's not a mandate, Carolyn, it's a requirement. The difference between a mandate and a requirement is they can't take our money away, but thou shalt do it. If you don't, they'll do it and either bill you or do something else. Then there's the third level of thou shalt do this. That's what happens in public health. Many of what public health does is not a mandate and not required. But if you don't do it, the state does it, and then they bill you, and you have 30 to 60 days to pay them. Then there's the things that we do voluntary. All I concentrated on was mandates, things that we are required to do that could cause us to lose $5 million between highway aids and state shared revenue. Okay, that's my point. All right, now, when you look at our budget, Supervisor Vaughn did a great job of looking through this. When you look at the fact, if you look at our revenues in total versus expenses in total, they don't match. They're not a dollar for dollar thing. There's some reasons for that. Number one, we have a calendar year fiscal year. The state of Wisconsin has a June 30th fiscal year. The federal government has a September 30th fiscal year, which goes back what we talk about, why fund balance is so important. We're oftentimes carrying them, we're expending money, and they're paying us afterwards. Point number 2 is the fact that for a governmental entity, revenue is only recognized as revenue when it's earned, measurable, and available. Otherwise, we don't book it. So that's one of the reasons that happens. What's important is to know is on the expenditures, on the bottom page of the expenditures, if you add the 39 million and the 49 million, that equals the 72 million. That means our expenditures are matched. We have some place, if we're gonna spend $1, we have a place where that dollar is going to come from. It may come from fund balance, it may come from a designated fund, or it may be something that we're gonna spend the money on and book the revenue in a previous year. If you've been on this board a long time, you know that there's been years where it's been the opposite. The revenue's been in excess of the expenditure because we're now recognizing revenue, or we're anticipating to recognize revenue in a fiscal period that's coming for an expenditure we made in a previous fiscal year, which goes back to Health and Human Services and the 3 new positions. We're paying for those positions out of our fund balance to recoup that money back a year to 2 years later. And that was explained to the Health and Human Services Committee a couple times. Point number 6. I'm gonna go through this. We're gonna go through this rather quickly. Why? Because when we meet on November 6th, you cannot have a sham budget hearing. We will go through every spreadsheet other than all the details, one at a time, very slowly, because that's a budget hearing. My point is, and this is point number 7, got a question? Ask. We'll stop and explain it. But when we meet next in November, bring a pillow, because we'll go, Jody and I'll switch off like we've done in the past. She'll take a spreadsheet, I'll take a spreadsheet. We'll basically go through it line by line during the budget hearing because you have to do that. You can't have a sham budget hearing. With that, are there any questions, concerns, comments? All right. The first spreadsheet that Jody has up here, she is explaining the new positions, how it affects the levy, and the new positions, and with the new positions in a different way. But what she's trying to explain here is where is the money going to come from, whether it's levy or grant? Go ahead.
This is actually the changes from the September draft to the October draft of what you have now. We have some changes. So back at the September draft, we had two budgets side by side, one with no new positions and then one with new positions. Executive had recommended the published budget with the new positions. So this is the changes to the budget that you're going to see on the summary tax allocation. Did you want me to go through them?
No.
Okay.
Are there questions for Jody? Let's go to what we published.
Okay.
What Jody's displaying here is what she constructed, and we put in all of the newspapers, correct? We publish in all of the newspapers. You're only required to publish the newspaper in which the county seat is located, but we publish in all of the county newspapers. What this shows is the general fund is broken down by what is in the uniform chart of accounts for the major functions of a general fund. That's at the top of the page. Going down, she estimates fund balance, which we will get to why we leave it at 33%. Then she breaks down our special revenue funds, which would be health and human services, aging, ADRC accordingly. Our debt service, our capital projects, the highway fund, and the self-funded health insurance. Then the waste to energy fund, which is not funded with any tax levy. That breaks it down by fund, by revenue, expenditure, and fund balance, and what levy supports that individual fund. Below that, we bring in the calculation of equalized valuation, because that determines mill rate, okay? So a 14% increase in valuation, but we have a substantial drop in the mill rate, and then our recycling surcharge. This is what's published and needs to be published so many days in front of the public hearing, which will be on November 16th at 6 p.m. Questions on that spreadsheet? Yes, Randy.
Up on the contingency, we dropped like 200,000 from what we budgeted in 23 to what we are budgeting for 24. Can I ask why?
Is that size?
401A contribution.
No. That's a lot of it has to do with our capital improvement, capital outlay fund. We've cut that back.
Well, with the contingency, if we know that there's going to be, let's say, some sort of special project or something, maybe we're not sure if it's going to happen or whatever, rather than budget it in like the capital outlay or whatever, we'll budget those special things in the contingency. I can't remember right this second of what specifically was in the contingency for this year, but that does fluctuate.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember what the
That's
difference
okay.
is right now.
I saw it there and thank you.
I'll have it for
Got it right
November
here.
6th.
I got it right here.
Oh, do you?
Yep. In the contingency from last year, we actually upped it from 1.2 million in 2022 to 1.79 in 2023. And I said I'd find it, but now I can't. It's here. Is it towards the end?
Yeah, probably after the revenues and expenses.
Okay.
Keep going. No. go ahead.
We'll get it in November. I'm getting close now.
There you are.
Yeah, here it is. One of the big changes, well, health insurance was, I believe, more last year. We put in the groundwater study. We had a pro roll call voting system. We had some position replacements. That's why I think that's a lot of it. Yep. Well, yeah, and we had a 9% increase in health insurance versus 6 this year. That's a jump. All right. Other questions on what's in the published budget? All right. Let's go to the variances. This was asked to be added this year. I really think that they're self-explanatory. If you read through that, that explains why they are. I mean, for example, interest on investments, interest rates are up. Samantha's maximizing that amount. Look through that for a minute, and if you have any questions, let me know. All right, the next spreadsheet is, we see this every year, it's our summary tax allocation. This is where we break down expenses, revenues, and what finally gets us down to the tax levy, what gets us down to the mill rate. So we'll just touch on these really quickly. Our operations and maintenance at 20.8 million, debt service at 1.9, our highway fund at 4.5 million, contingency at 1.5, and 895 for capital improvements, 37,801,370. Then we start breaking down revenues that offset the levy, mean a direct reduction of the levy. And you can see the top 3 dominate. That's revenue that we see from the state and federal government at nearly 8 million, 4.4 million for sales tax, 1.4 for fund balance, because we take a third, we split it now a third, and a third, gives us a net levy of 21,867,534. Add in the Act 150 or the library payments, gives us a levy of 22,539,673. So that is quite a jump, but it's mainly in debt service. We cut debt service substantially last year because we paid off the Justice Center. The result is the mill rate drops from 393 to 356. Questions on that? The next page are the new positions that were recommended, and I just talked briefly about that, but the part that Jody has shaded, you know, we talked about this 3 months in a row at Health and Human Services, that the $10,489 are what we're paying there. We pay that up front and hope that understand that the state will pay us back in the future. And then there's a lot of purchase services for CCS and CLTS that increases personnel requests, and then the lake conservation technician. So these are the new positions that were added. We talked about this in September. Actually, in August, we did not put the sheriff's deputies in because they were approved prior to the budget for the 2024 budget. Questions on personnel? The contingency. Has this changed much from prior month?
Not too much.
Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. We're putting $200,000 for a contingency for payouts, our 401A contributions. Our health insurance is at 6.8%. It actually came in at 6.67. So I'll be signing those papers. We've got them locked in for renewal and on our stop loss. Happy with that. Pay raises. Some wage study things, and then things that actually reduce the 65,000. And I put a paper on everyone's desk of when that training will be, and then holding open positions because we can, and it'll help balance our budget. Questions on that? The next one that Jody prepares, and we've done this for many years, the bottom line is look at that 33%. That's the number we shoot to when we prepare our budget, to have a 33% fund balance. We try to keep that always between 25 and 33%. That's a measure of financial health and financial liquidity for the county. At 33%, that's at the high end where we need to be because we are STP projects and other things, but also if we were ever to go out for bonding, which we're not going to, well, we may. I'd like to refinance the acid gas debt. I think we can save some money there. That's a very important function when you go out for the rating services.
Supervisor Banks had a question.
Can you go back to where the sales tax is mentioned in that one sheet? I think it's...
We can go back. That would be on the summary tax allocation. That's $4,450,000. $4,450,000. That's a direct reduction to the levy, and we're taking $1.4 million from fund balance.
So it's over It's almost 6 million, right?
Correct.
That's been significant through the years.
Correct. We started out at about 583,000 collected in 1986, and we buck the, if you watch my presentation on the Green Book, you know that our sales tax per capita is higher than average because we have net in commuting, and people, that tells me that people are staying here and buying things here, so that's why our sales tax is up.
I said it last year that it pays to shop in Barron County, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Supervisor Taxtell.
Yes, going back to, refresh my memory on the 744,000 for paving. I thought that was coming out of fund balance. When's that coming out again?
It's coming out of the highway fund balance.
Oh, okay, so it has nothing to do with, nothing to do with the 33%. Okay,
Correct.
I thought it did. Okay, thanks.
Other questions?
Jeff, so the campus on capital improvements, I think we have 800 and some $1,000. Is that the other 750 we may need to finish that project? Is that in that?
No, that's going to be ARPA money, and every time we've spent ARPA money, I've taken it to the committee and the county board as a separate vote, so we get a 2/3 vote. I don't want to, I've never budgeted, I've not thrown ARPA money in the budget. I want that separate.
But only half of that project is ARPA money, right?
No, we have $1 million towards that ARPA money, and I'm crossing my fingers and saying my prayers every night, because so far the kitchen is on time and under budget, and I might have a little money left from there to put towards that.
Okay.
Yeah, that we'll use ARPA money for the campus. Yeah, so we can do that. Other questions? Bill?
How much money did the legal bills come in at, and where does that money come out of?
It's $52,171.49, and that came out of the county board, and that pays all, that's the last bill that I know of. And I showed it to Louis, and we'll reconcile that after we close the books.
I think we overdrew that account about $8,000. But that'll be covered next year.
Yeah, when we close the books like this, that's an unforeseen thing. When we close the books at the end, next March, we'll take care of it then. Good question. Yep. Other questions? Where was I? Oh, fund balance.
Library.
All right. So fund balance, good questions we got last year. We're talking about, we'll go through, we committed $390,000 to advance for the acid gas removal system. We have the IT upgrades at $90,000. We apply fund balance to the 2024 excuse me, budget, and then $1 million for STP and bridge. We draw that down to 7.9 million, which is 33%, and we like it there. It's a measure, like I said, a measure of liquidity and stability for the county, and I hope that the county board will always support that. Finally, I was requested to insert this in for the executive committee. The final spreadsheet we're going to talk about is the library appropriation. I sent something out to everybody. I'd just like to reiterate, the average checkout is $6.39, bottom right-hand corner. I want to try one more time. Try to explain Act 150 and Act 420. Act 150 is the requirement for the county, that's the requirement for the county to impose a tax upon those municipalities that do not have a state certified library, typically the townships. You're required to pay a minimum of 70% of the 70% of the cost of a checkout into that library. That's assessed against the towns, cities, and villages that do not have a certified library. That's Act 150. We're paying now 78%?
77 is budgeted for 24.
Okay, 77%. So we're paying 7% above the statutory minimum of 70%. That's the tax that happens inside the county. Act 420 is the payment from people who live in the county who go outside the county and check out a book. So for example, I live in the town of Bear Lake. I go up to Spooner and I check out a book, and their average cost is $5. If I check out 100 books, Barron County owes $500 to the Spooner Public Library. That's how that works. It's a per checkout. Act 150, what happens inside the county. Act 420 is payments from inside the county to municipal libraries located in another county, where somebody who lives in this county goes to another county and checks out a book. That's the difference. I don't know of anybody that pays above this statutorily required 70% on the Act 420. I don't think anybody does. We're one of the very few counties, I believe, that pays above the 70%. I could be wrong on that. This spreadsheet was just put in there. Jody prepared this so people had an understanding of the variances of what it costs to charge out a book in the various libraries. Questions on that?
Clarification, it's not just a book. It could be an ironing board, sewing machine, snowshoes.
Correct. It's whatever they, yes, we don't know what they put into that checkout. We have no control.
Supervisor Gusley.
Can you explain why the Amory decreased so much?
The calculations are based on their total circulation and their expenses. So you divide those and then you come up with a per piece circulation fee. And so then we pay 70% of that. So depending on, if their circulations are way up or way down one year, that can make a difference. If their expenses are up or down, we can't see what their expenses are made up of. So it's really hard to guess. We can just, we get their DPI annual report, and then from there we, double check their calculation to get that circulation fee based on how many, what our rentals were from them. So it's, we don't know necessarily.
Amory has typically been an outlier. There's quite a enclave of homeschoolers in that area of Vance Creek, and they do a lot of checkouts over there. Because I've called and asked why you're so high, and they're like, yeah, we know. We just have a number of homeschoolers in that part of the county, and they use the Amory library pretty extensively.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Turcott.
Is this basically on the honor system on their checkouts? How do we know the accuracy of?
I have.
So it's.
I would say yes.
Because when I sit on the Cumberland one, and they have a door dinger, so somebody goes in and out. So they do their head count. And it's based on, could be one person 10 times going in and out of the library. So I've not gotten an answer from them either.
Go ahead. I can speak. I was on the City of Barron Library. Their records were quite accurate. They actually knew where that person was from. And when I was on the library board, they could tell us whether or not we had a cold Christmas, because if we had a cold Christmas, we had a lot more checkouts from rural people. So I can only speak for what I know personally, and their records were quite accurate. And not from door dinging, it's from actual checkouts, sorry.
And I think the letters that Jeff sent out in our discussion of previous board meetings here has resonated with the libraries, and I think all the libraries want to do work with us, and so I think everything's going to be fine. Any further questions? Anything else on yours, Jeff? Okay, we'll go on to item number 11, zoning ordinance amendment. Rezoning the town of Chautauqua, William D. Jr. and Gail J. Anderson. Matt Schultz is agent. Anybody, motion by Heller, Supervisor Heller, seconded by Supervisor Rogers. Is there any questions on that rezoning? Seeing none, we'll vote. That passed 29 yes, 0 no. So thank you very much. Item number 12, the resolution adoption of the Barron County Farmland Preservation Plan Map amendment to the towns of Oak Grove, Prairie Lake, and Stanfold for 2023. And that's due to more of the farm preservation credits and things changing there. Motion by Supervisor Cook, seconded by Supervisor Guselik. Any questions? Not, let's vote. Again, that passed 29 to 0. Thank you. Item number 13, resolution, Barron County Surface Water Management Grant Application. Motion by Supervisor Guselik, seconded by Supervisor Langman. Any questions on that grant application? Seeing none, let's vote. Uh, 29 yes, 0 no. Thank you again, that passed. Item number 14, resolution, Barron County Lake Monitoring and Protection Network, AIS grant application. Motion by Supervisor Cook, seconded by Supervisor Bob Anderson. Any questions or concerns there? Seeing none, let's vote. (29 yes, 0 no). So that motion carries. Thank you. Item number 15, resolution, approve the 2023-2024 accomplishment and county forest work plan. Motion by Supervisor Heller, seconded by Supervisor Turcott. Any questions? Not, we'll vote on that. (29 yes, 0 no), so that motion carries. Item number 16. Now this one will require a 2/3 vote, 20 members. Resolution authorizing the use of the 2023 fund balance for the purpose of purchasing one recreational vehicle truck for the Barron County Sheriff's Department up to a total of $80,000. Motion by Supervisor Heller, second by Supervisor Thompson. Is there any questions on that? Okay, seeing none, we'll vote. (29 yes, 0 no). So that motion carries. Thanks. Item number 17. That was a part of the amended agenda. The resolution, again, this takes a 2/3 vote. Resolution, $10,000 for from the 2023 SISOP for a maintenance vehicle. That they'll hold that $10,000 is to hold the vehicle and to be paid the balance on 2024. Motion is that new with Dan? Okay, motion by Heller, again seconded by Supervisor Heller and seconded by Supervisor Thompson. Is there any questions or concern on the maintenance vehicle? Supervisor Vaughn.
So this is a down payment on a vehicle. Do we know the total price of the vehicle yet?
$74,513.
Thank you.
And that will be offset by the sale of the vehicle. Steve and his group know they're doing everything they can to keep that vehicle in good shape that they're using. And we will sell it on public auction, which has netted us a lot more money than trade-in.
Any further questions? Seeing none, let's vote. That passed by a 2/3 vote, 29 yes, 0 no. Okay, item number 18, the resolution authorizing architectural and engineering fees for the Sally Port at the Barron County Justice Center. Again, this will require a 2/3 vote, and it's up to $12,000 coming out of the fund balance. Motion by Supervisor Banks, seconded by Supervisor Gores. Any questions on the Sally Port? Not, let's vote. Passed by a 2/3 vote of 29-0. Thank you. Item number 19, resolution to amend the supervisory districts due to the annexation to City of Rice Lake and a detachment from the City of Chautauqua to the town of Prairie Lake. Motion by Supervisor Langman, seconded by Supervisor Rogers. I believe somebody stated nobody lives in these districts. Oh, do people do now? Okay, all right.
There's 2 people. Yep.
Any questions? Okay, well, seeing none, let's vote again. (29 yes, 0 no), so that motion carries. Item number 20, resolution opposing HR 3372 to amend Title 23 United States Code to establish a safety data collection program for certain 6-axle vehicles and for other purposes. Motion by Supervisor Buchanan, seconded by Supervisor Gores. There was a breakout session at the WCA relative to this, and they were trying to advocate saying that 91,000-pound 6-axle vehicle is better than a 3,000-pound 5-axle vehicle. Tell that to the bridge that it's going over. Yeah. Any further questions? Not, we'll vote on that. (29 yes, 0 no), so that motion carries. Thank you. Item number 21, ordinance establishing a speed zone on County Highway SS in the town of Prairie Lake. I believe they did a nice speed study. There was a lot of information in the packet. Motion by Supervisor Bob Anderson, seconded by Supervisor Moen. Any questions on that? Seeing none, let's vote again. (29 yes, 0 no), so that motion carries. Thank you. Item number 22, Jody had a packet in there, the ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act expenditures, and I believe we've got a little over $1 million left. I think we have 91,000 appropriated or encumbered for design for that campus work, and then we've got approximately $1 million toward that.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. Any questions on the ARPA for Jody? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to item number 23, the report from the county administrator.
Our 2024 health insurance renewal came in very favorable. It came in under the budget that we projected. Also, our stop loss insurance was very favorable at $50,000. As you know, we've talked about raising that. Those 2 facts, the executive committee authorized me to go ahead and encumber and sign off on those. So as soon as they'll come to my desk, I'll sign off on those and we'll move those forward. The sooner we do that, the better. So any questions on that?
We thought for sure we're gonna have to raise that stop loss from 50 grand, but we lucked out, so.
Yeah, we had a very good year so far. The 2025 budget considerations, something that I talked about either a year ago or 2 years ago is, and I just mentioned it briefly here, is when you look at our Health and Human Services Department, our high-cost placements, for example, those mandated by a court order, can run as much as, it could run $1 million in a month. It could. High-cost placements are a state mandate. You do that, if you don't follow the rules, they'll do it, they'll send you a bill. Something that I've talked over with Andy Phillips from Atolis Law, and we county administrators have talked about quite extensively, even at our annual meetings. This is clearly an unfunded state mandate. I believe it's something that the county board, if not this year or next, at some point you do need to give consideration, either working with WCA to change the law or do what some counties are considering. Take a 6-year average, do a short-term borrowing, and move that outside the levy. I know taxes are, and I'm not saying we raise taxes, but when you're told to do something and there's absolutely zero state funding to do it, there comes a point where the county board needs to draw a line. And one of the ways that you can do this, and some counties are doing this or are considering doing it, is moving it to a debt service, which is outside the levy limits. Budget for what you think your prior maybe 5 or 7 years experience are, put it on the debt levy, short term, borrow it, put it into fund balance. If you don't spend it, you don't use it, you don't levy for it the next year. But get some type of a plan like some counties do. They don't fund their highway department the way we do. They short-term borrow for projects. It's the same principle. I'm bringing it up because I do think it's something we need to think about, is these high-cost placements of moving them out of the operating levy, which is controlled, to something that's not. County aid bridges are not in the levy limit cap. This board has chosen, as you did many years ago, to keep the library levy under the levy limits until they made that decision not to. County aid bridges is the same way. We levy $200,000 for county aid bridges and we put that under the levy limit cap. You can move that outside the levy limit, and there's a way to do it. Mike Hafes and I are going to work on this, but it's something to at least be brought forward in detail and thought about, both of these. So I'm telling you that as I look forward to 2026 or 2028, these are things the board should be discussing. Maybe we start out a meeting and we just do something in as a committee of the whole where you can just discuss it. You don't make any motions. You just noodle and think and see what can be done. There's some substantial costs up in Health and Human Services in these high-cost placements, along with the Sheriff's Department taking a secure patrol car to deliver somebody. Again, I'm not pushing the issue. I'm just saying to get it into your minds to think about it. So questions for me on that? Gary.
Supervisor Taxdahl.
Yeah, you talking about placement at Winnebago?
Yes,
Oh.
things like that. Mendota, Winnebago, out of state, Tennessee, Arizona, Nevada. I mean, Stacy and that group, Carolyn Oates is chair of that committee. We're doing that all under operating levy. And there can be some big changes there rather quickly.
Supervisor Gores.
How would you build up a fund balance on that? Like, you know, because like, for instance, the highway department, we build it.
Yeah.
How would you do that on this case?
That's exactly right, Jim. What I would like to do is, I haven't really talked it too much over with Jody, but set up like a separate fund that would be just bridge aids where you'd levy, because then the towns would have to kick in. So you'd have to, in my thinking, you'd have the county levy, what the towns are going to put in. If you're over budget, then proportionately you each got to kick in to make it whole. If you're under budget, the town would get a refund. The county would keep that money in the fund. We'd work to be efficient, and then we would levy less the next year. And yes, at some point maybe, I don't think it would happen, but potentially it could. If Township A's project was under budget, they would get a refund and we would get a refund. It would sit there. And the next year you wouldn't levy quite so much. So somebody could make the argument that Township B in a succeeding year may get a benefit. I don't know how you'd rectify that, but yes, you'd want to start a separate internal service fund and track every expenditure. Okay. Other questions? All right, something that Abby's been working.
I had a question.
Okay, Supervisor Banks.
Just give us an idea what an out of placement would be. I know you mentioned Tennessee, Arizona. Let's take a year's placement. How much per month?
You want to answer that, Stace? Yep. Stace, you want to come up to the mic? That way that people online can hear.
My apologies, Stacy, I did not see you sitting in the audience.
It's okay. So a placement for a juvenile, which is typically what we're looking at placing out of state at this point, is about $17,000 to $18,000 per month. And that average, being able to bill Medicaid like we can for a Winnebago placement for a child, we do get some funding reimbursement for youth under the age of 18. Adults, we pay full freight at Winnebago for those stays.
Supervisor Hanson.
Would more mental health services help reduce those out-of-state placements?
Yeah, they would. We have one out-of-state placement right now that costs that amount of money. We have significantly, due to CCS, significantly reduced our out-of-home placements. We ran probably well over 100 a few years ago. We dropped that to like 79, 80 within the last couple years, and now we're down to the high 50s. So we really are reducing that by bringing in additional mental health services, and the folks from Randall really support that. We work with them very closely on that, and so, yeah, absolutely.
Supervisor Gores.
Is there any transfers that are coming to Wisconsin?
Very few, because these placements that we're going out of state for are very specialized placements for really high risk. Wisconsin doesn't support many facilities that support that high of acuity or need for these children. So that's part of the difficulty, is why we're having to transfer them out of state, is Wisconsin doesn't have the resources. There are work groups. We're working with the state, Wisconsin County Human Services Association, Wisconsin Counties Association. This has all been on all of their radars, but it's not easy to come up with the funding. They maybe do support and supply some startup funding, but continue operational funding isn't there. And so there's not too many people who are wanting to jump in that game.
Okay, just for information, speaking with Stacy Frolick, the head of our Health and Human Services Department. Thank you, Stacy.
Stacy, you want to stay there? Let's describe the difference between what goes on in the levy and what used to go on in the levy, because you and I talked about this specifically. Just so you're aware, as county board members, it used to be, if you had a high cost placement, that cost was direct billed back to the municipality from which that high cost placement came from. Now, I've been at this game a long time, so for example, little Jeff French is naughty, and he ends up in Winnebago or someplace, and there's not enough Medicaid funding. Let's say I'm from the township of Apple. That bill passed through the county, and that was a special assessment from the county to the township of Apple to pay that bill. And they were required to levy that and pay the county back. That since has changed. That's not how it works anymore. It's now county that pays 100% of that bill.
Correct. And you know, as I mentioned at executive, for those of you who were there, I think that would be very difficult. I can see why that's been changed from municipalities getting that pass through, because if you're talking about Elmina and a $17,000 a month placement, I mean, that would be pretty tough for that municipality to take on. And so I understand why they have spread that to the county. But I think where we really need to look for making the changes at the state level and being able to look at what type of funding can we recoup, whether that be Medicaid or additional special revenue, or what that funding may look like, is probably where we need to be looking.
Be nice if they took part of that $7 billion and set some aside for that. So, okay.
All right, the last thing I have is I put in the packets information that Abby Fisher is working on about getting us a full 4-year degree up at the campus. Supervisor Ken Jost, who's passed away, and County Board Chair Jess Miller worked very hard 2015, 16, 17, and 18 to have a BAAS degree up at Rice Lake. Well, that quietly went away unbeknownst to anybody till I found out this year. And Abby's been working hard to bring that back. So I'm encouraged by what she's doing. We do need a 4-year degree option up here for people that want to do it. I think reaching out to the businesses will be a great benefit. And that's all I have for updates. And an appointment of Mike to sit on our Highway Facility Finance Committee. He's a great resource, and he has a degree in construction management, so he's been a big help.
And it'll be as a non-voting member, and we need to vote on that.
Like me, non-voting, but yeah.
There, yeah, he's already very helpful. Motion by Supervisor Langman, seconded by Supervisor Hanson for the appointment. Any concerns? If not, let's vote. Passed 29-0, thank you. Claims, petitions, correspondence. Do we have any, John?
No.
Okay. Item number 26, suggestions for future budget or for future agenda items. We've got the budget hearing on November 6th at 6 PM. So anything else, Jeff? Okay. Item number 27, Ann Street School, strategies and negotiations for the sale or lease of the property. So we will be going into closed session pursuant to section 19.85, subparent 1, subparent E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating purchase of public properties, investing public funds, other specific business, or whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Can I get a motion to go into close? Motion by Supervisor Taxtell, seconded by Supervisor Heller.
Would include Mr. Chick Feather, Jody, myself, and John.
Okay. All right, let's vote. Kathy, have you hit yours? Uh, 29 yes, 0 no to go into closed session. Yeah, now we're back and open, and then we'll wait for Jess. Yes, please. I don't. I don't know the answer.
But they'll have to go through it. Yeah, it's 20 grand more. Don't we have to get?
Yeah, it's a tough. Okay, we're back and open now, Jess. Somebody's gonna make the motion to, accept one of these offers.
No, you're gonna have to be all over this.
Is that right?
Right, but the other one is.
No, it's just a motion.
To buy it.
So,
They'll just buy it.
okay, okay, we're back in open session. Would somebody like to make a motion to accept one of the offers? Motion by Supervisor Gores. Yeah, you gotta tell us what you're doing.
Pardon me?
We-
I make a motion that we accept the Randall offer.
Okay, is there a second?
I'd second that motion.
Second by Supervisor Heller. Okay, the motion right now is to accept the Kim Randall offer. Is there any further?
Discussion, please.
Gores did, and then Heller. Supervisor efforts.
I'd like to amend that motion to specify that every contingency was dropped except the two that she was
I think
requesting.
that was, I think that's a good amendment because Chick did indicate that we're just down to surveying it and accepting the zoning by the city of Rice Lake.
And I'll second that amendment.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion by Supervisor Efforts, seconded by Supervisor Cook,
An amendment.
that they amend that initial motion to make sure that the Randall offer only includes surveying the property and by us, paying by us, and then that the city of Rice Lake rezone the property to the appropriate category that the Randalls need. We vote on the amendment first, right? So we'll vote on the amendment first when you get that. Yep, I know, I got you. Simple majority. To clarify, basically, to clarify that the Randall offer includes the county paying for the survey and that they obtain the rezoning from the city of Rice Lake that is necessary for their business.
That's basically a counter.
Yeah. Yeah. Although Chick has indicated that it's already been agreed to. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, efforts and then Cook. To amend. Yes, okay, well, now we're gonna be voting on the amendment. What you're doing is voting to amend that the Randall offered to clarify that it only, we pay for the survey, we being the county, and that they are able to get a rezoning from the city of Rice Lake that satisfies their business purpose for that. Okay, let's vote. A yes means you agree with that, what the amendment we just said. Then we're gonna be voting on that as amended if that passes. Jerry?
We need the genius.
Only one guy stands up.
Jerry, you want to vote verbally?
We got it right
Okay, that the amendment passed 29-0. Okay, so now we're on to the main motion. The main motion is that we accept the Randall offer as amended. And that motion is by Gores and seconded by Heller. Yes. Okay, let's vote. A yes vote means you're going to the amended vote for the Randalls to accept that, or accept the Randall offer as amended. $25 yes, 4 no. So that motion's carried, so with the amendment. Anything else? Okay. Okay, by unanimous consent, we'll adjourn at 8:53.